Welcome to the editorial board.
Glad to be here.
We are, let's see, today's date is March 7th, right? Yes, March 7th.
I know it's Friday.
Yes, it is Friday, March 7th. So please take a moment to introduce yourself, tell us the office you seek, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll start asking questions. So welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm Lizbaeth Benacquisto, and I'm running for Congress in the 19th District. A little bit about myself. I'm a mom, a wife. My two adorable children, my son Austin is a freshman at Washington and Lee University where he plays lacrosse. And my daughter Gabriella is a freshman at Fort Myers High School, and she's in the IB program. Very proud of them. I also have a stepdaughter who's just about to enter law school, and I also have a granddaughter, Sadie, who's 20 months. And so I'm a very, very lucky woman. A little bit more about my background. I've served in the Florida Senate for 3 years now, was elected first in 2010, and have had a great opportunity and privilege to serve my constituents, and became the majority leader in 2012, and have served ever since in that capacity.
How does one become the majority leader, doing the rough math, after 1 year roughly in the Senate?
You know, it generally doesn't happen, and I'm only the second female to hold the post in the state's history, so I'm very proud of that. And I think a lot of folks have seen that as a role model for what might be able to happen in the future. The Senate's only had 2 women presidents as well, so it's a new bar for folks to shoot for. But the president and the caucus choose the majority leader. It's a very distinct honor because my colleagues look to me to build coalitions to help advance a very conservative agenda and make everyone successful. So it's a great job.
We like to ask the candidates what sets you apart from the others in the field. And when I asked you this before, you said it's that legislative leadership experience. Is that, could you expound on that a little bit, please? Why are voters should place a premium on that?
Well, I'll share another thing that I think sets me apart from the other folks in the field, and you might not have noticed, but I am a female. And there are only 19 women representing the Republican voice in Congress, and there's only one other Republican female in the state of Florida. And in a state of 19 million residents, I think it's time for more female folks to serve in Congress, certainly that are competent, capable, and have the skill set to be successful. And
why is that important?
well, to think that in the entire country only 19 female Republican voices would be representing the United States in Congress making decisions on our behalf, that's just not enough. It's just not enough. Out of 430 members, 435 members, I think that number needs to be larger, and our constituency has shared the same. Folks, when I go door to door, are very proud that I've offered my name in service, and hopefully will cast a vote for me because of my service ethic, my record of strong conservative votes, and certainly that I am totally committed to service on their behalf and doing the job for what's in their best interest.
When you were initially, and correct me where my memory's wrong, but when you were initially elected to the Senate, your district comprised part of Lee County and part of a county based on the East Coast. And I believe you were based on the East Coast, if I were. Tell me how you came to move to Fort Myers.
Well, I had the great privilege to represent Senate District 27 when I first got elected. That spanned 5 counties. And in the service, met a gentleman who has now become my husband, and it seemed like a very appropriate thing to build a family together and move my children here. My son graduated from Bishopboro High School, and my daughter's now here in Lee County Public School.
Roughly when did you move to Lee County?
2010, so about 4 years ago.
The key issues seem to start with the Affordable Care Act and immigration and spending. The leading Republicans in your field tend to have similar positions on those issues. And often, choices like this for voters come down to trust, on who they can trust to do what they're going to say, and who they can trust to have the skills to get things done. Do you agree with that size up, and why do those roads lead to you?
I do believe that, especially in the wake of what happened with Trey Radel. Folks felt like they knew him, and it turned out they did not, and that was a very disappointing moment for the community at large. And folks still feel that disappointment. And in me, they have someone who they've seen for the past 3 years manage the office, be very rooted in the community, be very focused on constituent service and the knowledge that we do this for them. And they have a voting record to judge me on that has been very conservative. And when we walk door to door, folks say, I do trust you. I believe in you. I've seen what you've done in the community and the things that you've championed. And they recognize that my service is genuine and focused on what service should be focused on, which is them.
Can you list just a few of the key accomplishments?
How much time do you have?
Well, what are the highlights that you can point to? I mean, to take that, to be a little more specific and say, here are examples.
We've been a very strong champion for school choice and providing opportunities for parents and students to choose the educational setting that is the best for their student. And we've also been a champion for providing low-income families scholarships so that their children can be educated in a school that is not failing. And I think that's very important when you think about opportunities for kids to be successful. Additionally, we've done a number of bills to help children be protected from sexually violent predators. And being a mom and a grandmother, I know how important that is to both my family and families across our communities. We passed last year the Oral Cancer Parity Medication Act, and there isn't a day that goes by that someone doesn't say to me, you've provided hope for my family, because now they can get access to the medications that were so expensive before we passed that legislation. And those are things that if my service were to end tomorrow, I know they're a legacy, and I really do feel like we've made a difference. And we've passed a law to prohibit protests at military funerals, and I think that's important as well. And then on the fiscal side, we've been very staunch advocates for wise allocations of state dollars. And so last year we passed a bill to make sure that every dollar that went out through a grant or a contract has measurables attached to it. There has to be performance metrics allocated towards the application, and they have to meet those. Do they meet their return on investment? Have they served the amount of children or individuals in the community that they said they were going to? Have they done the job that they promised they would do? Because when you're spending taxpayer dollars like that, there has to be strong accountability. So I'm very proud of that as well.
You mentioned that was last year that was passed?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen results on it yet? Or are
Yes.
people coming back in the state saying, you didn't meet your goals, give us the money back?
Well, not to that extent yet, but the grant managers and the contract writers are delving down to make sure that there is enough detail on the contract itself so that those benchmarks can be set, that they have to be met. And there are clawback provisions, and we owe that to the taxpayer. It's their money, and everything that goes out the door should be very well focused to be successful.
Are there areas where you think your work in the state legislature translates particularly well to the federal legislature, things that you've worked on here that the federal government also works on that you'll be able to step right into?
Absolutely. As vice chair of the Full Appropriations Committee, one of the greatest challenges we have is out-of-control spending and national debt. And as my post has allowed me to do, I've been engaged in the conversations to reduce $3.5 billion of debt over the last 3 years. We're going to shoot for reducing it by another $175 million this year. We've cut taxes every year I've been in office. We've balanced the budget. Those are the things that Washington is failing to do at the moment. So I have that skill set to jump right in and make an impact. And that's a serious issue for our country. And I think it's one that needs to be taken head on and with great sincerity and immediate action.
Jeff had mentioned a couple of the big issues, but tell us about your stance on immigration. Sometimes individual conservatives and the Republican Party don't agree exactly on the details of immigration. What would an ideal package look like in your mind?
Well, an ideal package is enforcement of the laws that are on the books now. We are a nation of laws, and yet folks can come in and find refuge here illegally. And that's not right. That places a burden on society as a whole, our communities as a whole. So my first focus is to make sure that we're enforcing those laws and the borders are secure. Until such time, to engage in policy discussions about how to make a pathway for the future, you have to make sure that no one else is coming in an unlawful manner.
But some folks in the congressional leadership would say, let's do them both at the same time. You're up there, they're saying, you're the freshman from Southwest Florida, do what we want, follow our plan, it'll work, believe us, it'll work, follow the leaders. What do you say to that?
Well, I challenge that notion because I don't have faith in the president enforcing his end of the deal, which is something he could do now. And so I challenge everyone to make sure that before any conversation started about anything other than securing the borders, that we were focused there. I just don't have the trust level in the president. He could do that now.
Can I piggyback on your question? Okay, so we're going to seal the border. Okay, no more illegals coming in. Okay. Then, but which of the folks who are already here and undocumented, which of them should get to stay?
That's a very good question. I don't believe in the concept of amnesty for folks who've broken the law. So I think that's a discussion we can have when the borders are secure and there's no more illegal activity going on.
But that really is that's really the tough part.
Sure, but we make tough decisions on the state level all the time, and I'm ready to do that, but I want to make sure that step one is taken care of first.
But to just give us a preview on who you think should get to stay. I mean, that's really where a lot of the rubber's going to meet the road. Could you please give us a preview?
Well, I'm a compassionate person. I'll look to make sure that that we do what is right on the side of humanity. But again, I'm very focused on enforcing the laws that are on the books and making sure that folks know that if you are looking to come to the United States of America, you should do it legally.
Having said that, some of the folks who are here illegally now are also very, very much employed. And there are employers who want them and they're glad to see them and they want them to stay. Some would say they even play a key part in our economy, both in Florida and nationwide. How do you balance that out?
You have to have a very strong guest worker program. I think that's important for many of the segments of our economy, but that should include a methodology to make sure we know who's come in, when they're supposed to go,
Okay.
and have accountability in a system.
So if they're going to be here, at least have to know who they are and where they are.
And how long they're supposed to stay, and then have accountability in the system. Yes, sir.
I hear the radio ads specifically, you bring up Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, and if I heard correctly, you're in favor of doing away with it.
Yes, sir.
Do you put anything in its place?
You know, there are, the Cancer Treatment Fairness Act was one example of ways to provide access to folks for care that they need. But right now, when you have the president changing components of the law when he feels like it, I think it's a great show of disrespect to the American people. He should just allow the package to be repealed because it's doing more harm to our economy than anything else. And when he acknowledges through his own actions that there are challenges and things that are wrong, he should do the right thing by the American people.
So it goes away. You mentioned the Cancer Act. Any other specific ideas as to what goes in its place?
Well, certainly allowing folks to buy insurance products across state lines would be helpful. You can...
Oh, excuse me. It's okay, everything's good.
You can provide tax breaks for individuals, just like companies receive for buying insurance products. And you can also increase the availability of portability in the system. So if someone leaves the employee of one company, they can take their health care with them. There are lots of private market solutions that can be employed.
Speaking about private market solutions and transitioning maybe into flood insurance. Great concern to your constituents in Southwest Florida. Flood insurance has been subsidized by the federal government for years. Should that continue?
Well, we need to hold off on any changes to the program now because it is devastating to hear people talk about what they feel might happen if those rate increases actually go into effect. Folks who are on Social Security, folks who have been living in their homes a long time, are very worried about being priced out. And then we also know that there is a large segment of the population who might want to move for one reason or another, and they can't because the new buyer realizes that they might not be able to afford the premium.
Right.
So a complete delay while you establish what the right policy is moving forward, but we in Florida are moving forward with a private market solution because Washington's failed to fix the problem, and we do not want a scenario where folks are trapped in their homes or lose their homes. We think it's incumbent upon us to provide an option, and we're working on that.
What could, I'm unfamiliar with that. What does that entail?
Senator Brandis has a bill that would allow private insurers to write flood insurance policies in the state of Florida. And they can offer a wide range of services, deductibles, that would meet the needs of the consumer and be private market based. It's the way it should be. But again, allow folks to buy the product that fits their needs and allows them to stay in the home affordably.
My understanding was the reason that the federal government sold all the flood insurance was basically because private companies didn't want to do it. The risk was too high. The premiums would be too high to really cover their risk. People wouldn't buy it. What changes under this bill? How does that get better? It's still, you're still in Florida. There's still an ocean right there.
Right. There's lots of water around, but we've seen in the development of this bill and Senator Brandis's work, private insurers coming forward saying if you offer this opportunity, they want to be a part of that marketplace. So that's been very encouraging, and we're going to work to fix the problem while Washington hasn't.
Lizbaeth, could you please address the style? It sort of carries over into the substance too. Of the campaign. Here we are in early March, and your campaign probably is going to get more tense and bitter rather than the reverse. And you've been the target of some nasty stuff, and we're wondering where some of the other nasty stuff, the negative ads against your opponents, is coming from. And anyway, what can you say about the way you view that? I would think that you would still want to be accountable for your own campaign, even though it might be done by a PAC beyond your direct control. I mean, can you address the tone and the character of the campaign?
Well, I am responsible for my own campaign, and that's all I can be responsible for. Whatever any of the other number of super PACs, and there are more than one, are doing is not in my control. And as you mentioned, there's a super PAC out there that's attacking me. We're running for the United States Congress, and tough questions might be asked of all of us. We'll answer them. And I am just, to the best of my own description, an extraordinarily positive person. And when we walk door to door, it's with a smile on my face and hopefulness that we can connect with a voter and find in them someone who'll push the button for me and entrust in me the opportunity to serve on their behalf. And I'll continue to do that with a smile on my face through Election Day, and come what may, I'm just extraordinarily proud to offer my name and certainly humbled by the support we've received so far.
Do you support term limits
Yes, sir.
for Congress?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As my understanding, that would have to be brought about by constitutional amendment. Do you support?
I do.
constitutional amendments?
I do. I think they would be very appropriate. There should not be folks serving 50, 40, 30 years. It's always great to have new and fresh ideas.
Lacking a constitutional amendment, would you impose a term limit on yourself?
Well, I don't want to be anywhere forever. And I know that if I'm successful in this campaign, someone will take my seat in the Florida Senate. And that's a wonderful experience to have someone else come in, offer their perspective, champion new and different projects. And I would do the same thing if I were so fortunate to win the congressional seat. It's not anywhere I intend to be forever. I want to serve and get the country back on the right track. And we'll know when it's time to go, but
I'm not putting a specific number on it right now.
well, I haven't even gotten there yet.
Fair enough.
I'm very hopeful, but I haven't even gotten there yet.
Will you be able to, you talk about being a relentlessly optimistic person and positive. Would you be able to, what they like to call, reach across the aisle to address some of the gridlock? Because I'll bet you that some of those folks, when you knock on those doors, they say, you know, why can't Washington do better?
It's exactly what they say. They're tired of the bickering. They're tired of the gamesmanship. They want solutions. And what I share with folks is that's part of who I am, is finding solutions and working to build consensus to move good ideas forward. It's what I've had the privilege to do as the majority leader, and I think we've had a very good run. And you know, I know that there are so many issues that we have in common, no matter your geography or political affiliation. There are some things that are just important to the country on the whole, but I want to push forward conservative ideas and build coalitions of fellow conservatives to do the right thing for our country.
I'm trying to ask each candidate that we visit with, I'm trying to ask the, it's sort of a perhaps annoying question, but here it is. Is there anything about you, either currently or in the past, that if it were to come out and be public knowledge, that it would affect your ability to lead and to serve? I guess I'm asking the question in the context of what we learned about Mr. Radel. And we didn't have any clue, and frankly, we didn't ask him then. And he apparently had these issues when he was running.
Mm-hmm.
So having learned from that, is there anything in your past that you would need to tell us about now rather than have everybody be surprised and disappointed later?
Unequivocally, no. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't even drink coffee. And I think I've led a very honorable life. I do eat a lot of junk food, but I think that's common knowledge.
No coffee, how does that work? Your money ahead.
Well, it does save a couple of dollars in the pocketbook.
You mentioned something earlier, again, that I was not familiar with, the Oral Cancer Medications Act.
Yes, sir.
What's that all about?
It used to be under Florida law that insurance companies could treat the oral delivery method of a chemotherapy agent like a pharmacological benefit. If you had it intravenously, it would be an office visit copay, and those would be $20 or $50, depending on your plan. But the oral medication, since it was a pharmacological benefit, could cost thousands of dollars a month. And we heard testimony from folks during the process that they would pay $3,000 a month, $8,000 a month folks who quit their jobs to take other lower paying jobs because the insurance benefits were better. But they had to get access to these medications. And the bill had been filed 2 years previous to the time I did it. Never got a hearing. Just never got a hearing. And when someone asked me to do it, I thought, this is going to be the easiest bill I ever do. But the special interest crowd who did not like what I was trying to do fought at every committee stop, behind the scenes. We extended session twice to get the final hearing of the bill on the floor of the Florida Senate. It was a tumultuous experience, but because I was buoyed by the testimony and the hopefulness of cancer patients across the state, we persevered and passed the law. You'd think it was an easy thing to do, but
Who would oppose that? Pharmaceutical companies or?
the insurance industry.
Because they're paying more and the patient's paying less?
Well, that patient would pay more for the medication when they took it via the oral delivery method. And now they pay the same copay. So the medication that previously cost $8,000 or $3,000 a month, or even $1,500 a month, now cost that patient $20 a month or $50 a month. That's a huge impact to people's lives. And you know, every family is touched by cancer in some way or another, or they have a good friend or a neighbor. This was very impactful legislation.
If I could talk about jobs for a second and sort of go backwards to immigration for a second. Do you have any thoughts on the phenomenon that we're seeing now, that there are some employers, even in your district, especially in tech industries, that would like to expand? They're going again, but they don't have the staff they need. Mm-hmm. And if they could get some of the staff they need if it were easier to look internationally and get those folks here, but they say that they're barred by the immigration rules. Have you heard that, and do you have any thoughts?
Well, my first thought is to make sure that we have opportunities for Florida students and students across the country to have access to STEM education programs and to be trained and educated in the ways that those high-tech, high-wage companies need to find employees. And we've been very focused on that at the state level.
But these employers have tapped that out, and they're just stuck. They can't get the help they need.
Well,
they would love to do that.
Well, bringing folks who into the country who have highly technical skills and are going to be extraordinary contributors to our economy, mm-hmm. and come in via legal ways, that's what's made our country so great. Okay. And that's very valuable. But at the same time, I'll underscore that getting our kids in the position to take those jobs and take care of their family in the best way that they can because they're making a high wage, reinvest in their community, and be successful, that's a great focus, and that's my focus. Okay.
But again, there are folks, employers on the ground here right now that say, I'd love to grow, but I can't get the employees, and they're paying top dollar.
I know. And
they can't even get them from Europe.
They're trying to get as many kids through the STEM at Work program in Lee County, and I'm sure you guys have a focus here in Collier County as well. Again, homegrown, those students deserve the best opportunities.
Okay. On the topic of education, you're pretty clear you're against the Common Core. Are you against, is it the standards that bother you, or the fact that the federal government is promulgating them sort of across all the states, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of a lot of things, and it's which we have opted out of the national assessment, which was step one, and we did that in July of last year. So if you're opted out of the national assessment, you can develop your own Florida-based curriculum. And we're also moving this year to take the instructional material purchases, both from textbooks and the ancillary material that's used in the classroom, and take it right down to the level where it belongs, and that's at the local level. Senator Hayes is running that bill. Those decisions should be made by local districts with input from the staff that are in the schools in each jurisdiction, and with input from parents. So we're very focused on on stopping what is a national education mandate.
We're at 30 minutes. So would you like to have the last word, or have we covered all your issues?
You've
We've
been
covered ours.
Well, it's been great to be here. I just love the opportunity to visit with you guys. And I'd ask folks back home to read a little bit more about me, to hopefully to see you on the campaign trail, and I'd love the opportunity to earn your vote and represent you in Congress.
Thank you.
Thank you.